designers, and welcome back to A Sale by Sketchbook. Today's video has been requested by you guys, and it's all about the criteria matrix and bubble diagram, or the relationship diagram. These are two important planning tools that if you're an interior designer and you're doing a big project or even a small project, you can make really good use out of. So today I'm going to explain to you step by step, and I'm going to give you a template at the end of this video that you can use in your future projects. This is the end result of how it will look like. That's like a draft, and I will give you the electronic copy so you can use it in your future. I have children playing downstairs. I cannot control them. I wish I can shout like, shut up! Yeah, but unfortunately it doesn't work. So let's get to it. So the matrix format is a widely used technique for visually organizing information of a variety of factors that is sometimes referred to as a chart or a table. It's a useful technique to condense and organize the conventional written design program. It is applicable to both small spaces and large projects, but it is more common in large spaces. The amount of information that is in the criteria matrix will vary upon the timing that you have for the project, so sometimes it can be more detailed than other times. First step to do is to understand all of your spaces. I'm going to be using one of my projects as an example. One of my projects was Pureborn offices, and it was just for the design. I didn't execute it, but it was really fun to do. The client was so organized that she sent me the required list of spaces that she needs, and there are 10 spaces and that I had to design and take care of. The first thing that you need to take care of is the proportion of the criteria matrix, and understanding how many spaces helps tremendously because you can space it correctly. And I do advise you to make a draft one before you go ahead and make the proper criteria matrix. So I'm going to create the draft with you for this project here. The first thing that I did is I calculated the spaces needed, and then I divided my table into rows and columns depending on that. The slanted line is created to have more spaces to write. And then I put down my spaces on the far left. And then I have the legend. The legend depends totally on your project. From there I start dividing for the rest of the columns, the square meter needed, adjacencies, and other things that I'll explain in the video. First thing that you need to do is to title the project. So this is Pureborn offices, and these are all the spaces that are within the whole office that are required. Understanding the minimum square requirement even before you see a plan is a very useful thing, because once you understand what the minimum is, then you can go ahead and start to understand how the spaces will fit within your plan. So this is why we need the square meter requirement or square foot. It depends on where you are in the world. Adjacency helps you with planning the area, decide where each place will go. For example, understanding office spaces and the meeting room need to be nearby each other will help you put them together in the plan later on. We have two similar things here, but they're not very similar. I'll explain the difference later. But for the public access, you'll decide whether the area should be nearby the entrance where the visitors can come and see and say hi and do that, or if it requires total privacy away from the public eyes. This is very helpful when you're designing a bank. Daylight or view determines which offices will require more daylight than the others. For the privacy, how is it different from the public access? Privacy is within the company itself. For example, CEOs need privacy that is even more substantial than office spaces when it comes to their own acoustic needs, things like that. Within this column, you will decide whether you need acoustic panels, how much visual privacy does this area have. Plumbing is super helpful, especially if you design a big project, because then you can understand if you require plumbing in this space, and you can remember it later on when you're designing that I will need plumbing solutions in this area and where you'll place your sinks, things like that. If, for example, it's an art center and you need a sink, this is where you will write that you need plumbing. For the special equipment, you'll write a yes or a no if it requires anything special, and then in the special consideration, you will specify each requirement. The legend is usually high, medium, low, yes, no, none, important but not required, and this can differ to your needs. Now, you might see this in the criteria matrix and you can look at it and get a little confused on what it exactly does. but it also helps you plan the space before you start. This book is tremendously helpful if you're getting into space planning. This is like the prototype, how you do the prototype of a plan before you go ahead and create your final draft of the criteria matrix. If you want to give it to the client or not, totally depends on you and your process as a designer. And here it shows you the total needed space from the whole plan. Also, they consider the circulation, which is something that we all need to consider. It's the added adjacency matrix. This is what you call it. Create a legend where it's immediately adjacent, important adjacency, reasonably convenient, or unimportant or remote. These are the skills that you need to have. And then depending on that, what you do is you create a line that is parallel to each side of the triangle. And for example, if you have 9 areas, so you'll have 8 boxes to fill. The box of reception and meeting the interview is a box where it determines what kind of adjacency relationship it needs. For example, here it is immediately adjacent, so you'll know that when you're designing, the reception and the interview station are nearby each other. Next is the relationship diagrams, all the bubble diagrams for more fun name. The bubble diagram is something that is super essential. To be honest with you, if I don't use the criteria matrix at all, this is what I'm using. I feel like visually it's easier to get bubble diagram than it is to get a criteria matrix. So the first thing to understand is the circle size for each area needs to depend on how many square meters it will need. So bigger areas have bigger circles. This is the template that I used to use back in uni. Anything circular, or you can just freehand it, whatever you want. So you can create the areas most public to the least public. That's how I do it. And I try to line them up to become what they will go into space. Like I will make them in the order that I'm going to design my space around, or this is like my stepstone into planning this space. So okay. So now that we have the circles and they're labeled, what we have to do is create the legend for how adjacent they are to each other. This is the legend that I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to create the legend very quickly. So now that we have the legend, what we're going to do is create connections between spaces. For example, office spaces and CEO office, I would like an immediate adjacency because it's important that they're together. For the meeting room and the office spaces, say the CEO office and the meeting room, similar. For the cafe and office spaces, I want it close and convenient because I want people to be able to take their breaks. So what I'm going to do is just create a space to it. For the meeting room and cafe, same. I want it close and convenient. But the CEO office, she has already a coffee corner in her office, so it would be minor. And these are the most important spaces that we need to connect together. You don't have to get all of the circles connected to everything, but you want to understand which spaces that you need circulation between, like walkways, and this is how you understand which areas need to be next to each other. For the acoustic privacy, as an example, the CEO room, we'd need acoustic privacy from all sides, and it will require a daylight or view. For the office spaces, we need daylight. For the meeting room, we need acoustic privacy from all sides. To finish the bubble diagram, what you do is you put it within the space. For instance, this is what they have as an example. I'm gonna draw a plan here, hypothetically speaking, and I'm going to choose the entrance to be here. And I will take this, burst it in here, orienting the spaces where they need daylight. Let's say that you can access daylight here and here. So now that you've already distributed your spaces, you want to create the correct circulation. So you'd say that this is the circulation that you want to create. And then you'll burst those bubbles into spaces. And then from there, you kind of understand where your walls are. Really important tip here. Take it if you will. Don't take it if you don't want to take it. But color your bubbles, always. You're asking me why, and I have a perfect answer for you. To understand where is every space. For example, if I color this cafe with this funky color, I'll go to the block plan and I'll color the same thing. And then I have a reference, a proper reference of which space is what, even if I don't write the label for it. Just make sure that you differentiate between the colors. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope this video was helpful for you. If it is, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, give this video a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. This is the link that I promised you. Thank you for watching till the end. It will be down below under secret. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great time of the day wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.